An ex-post from Charlie Kirk breaking a sweeping new ruling. The U.S. Court of International Trade has just blocked President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs, saying that authority is with Congress. With activist judges, what is even the point of having a president? Fact check. While the Constitution grants Congress the power to impose tariffs, and it does, of course, Article 1, Section 8, actually, of the Constitution, Congress delegated much of that power to the executive branch in the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, actually in many, many congressional statutes throughout American history. There's a constant, unremitting pattern of Congress delegating its tariff authority to the president within very broad legal boundaries and constraints, and with tremendous deference given to the Article 2 executive's role in negotiating foreign trade and foreign affairs. That is the totality of the history of U.S. tariff law until yesterday. Yesterday, this Court of International Trade decided they were going to upend America's entire history of tariff law and application. And by the way, my first reaction when I heard about this was literally this. Did you know that in all 50 states, self-defense law, not gun law, but self-defense law, uses a simple 5-element test to see if your use of defensive force was legally justified? And that same test applies no matter what state you're in or what tool you use to defend yourself. If you're missing even one of those required elements, however, you've made yourself an easy conviction for an aggressive prosecutor. My name is Attorney Andrew Branca, and I've worked more than 30 years as a self-defense attorney. Every state has seemingly endless, complex pages of laws regarding self-defense, so complex that many top criminal defense attorneys rely on my expert analysis to help win self-defense cases for their clients. If the legal code is that complex for lawyers, how can a citizen gun owner expect to know or even follow the law, especially when a life or death situation has triggered a massive adrenaline-fueled mandate to make that fight or flight decision right now? It seems daunting. Yet I created a simple but powerful framework that has allowed me to serve the legal community and countless American gun owners to simplify this legal complexity into just 5 elements of self-defense law. And you can learn my 5-element legal algorithm I use to consult on and win with the top criminal defense attorneys all over the country to protect law-abiding gun-owning citizens from making innocent legal missteps that land them in prison. Now, with a simple read or listen, you can install my 5-point legal framework so it acts as a sort of muscle memory defense to protect you from losing your rights when you choose to defend innocent human life. Click below to get the latest edition of my book, The Law of Self-Defense Principles, for free. I ask only that you help cover the shipping and handling cost to get the book to you. I've practiced law for 34 years. Including as a member of the Supreme Court bar, and I've literally never heard of the Court of International Trade until today, meaning yesterday. I'm leaning towards this is not going to prove to be the ruling that overturns the U.S. Constitution and Article 2, executive branch of government. Kind of a bizarre situation for sure, with this rarely heard from court. By the way, of course, the court decided that a huge swath of Trump's tariffs, the court did not evaluate them on an individual basis, just decided this whole bucket of Trump tariffs are unlawful, which could have some interesting revenue implications because the U.S. government has brought in $250 billion in tariff revenue. Here's a tariff chart over many years, going back to the early 2000s. And then there's a big spike in 2025. That's found money. Now, the good news is we're not going to lose all of that. In fact, we're not going to lose most of it because this ruling by this court didn't do away with all of Trump's tariffs. Indeed, it didn't do away with most of them. If you look at this chart, the red bars are the tariffs that are still in place. primarily on Chinese products. The blue bars are the ones that are affected by this ruling, claiming that they are unlawful. But if you do the math here, fully 2/3 of Trump's tariffs remain in effect. Only about 1/3 of them fall within the scope of this order. Here's another post I found interesting. This guy refers to Grok. And I would just caution everybody, be very, very careful using any AI platform for any serious purpose. They are not truth-telling machines. They just skim information off the internet to the extent that information is bad, misinformed, propagandized, manipulated. It's actually disinformation. Grok can't tell the difference. Grok just packages it all up and feeds it back to you. So to my mind, appealing to Grok is always the worst, most contemptible form of appeal to authority. But nevertheless, this person refers to Grok, says Grok points out how wrong these judges are. We won't be relying on Grok here, folks. We're going to look at the actual opinion and break it all down. First of all, they mention again that although Congress has the constitutional Article 1 power to assign tariffs, which the Constitution calls duties with a capital D, under Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, there are many, many, many congressional statutes that, in fact, delegate that authority with very broad limits to the Article 2 executive branch that has always been upheld by the federal courts. He mentions a couple here. We're only going to talk about the ones that are most significant in terms of this opinion. But this bottom line I thought was interesting. Legal precedent supports this delegation. It has. The courts have always upheld the delegation of broad tariff powers to the president. And the Congressional Research Service. So these are researchers, experts that work for Congress to evaluate complex subjects, describe them in various reports, provide information to the public. And the Congressional Research Service notes that judicial rulings dating back to Chief Justice Marshall, the first, grant the president broad tariff authority, despite Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution assigning tax and tariff powers, and those are two different things, to Congress. And in fact, I dug up this Congressional Research report. Let me pull it up now for all of us. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we'll look at kind of the introduction because that gives us a sense for how tariffs have traditionally been working throughout American history. Take that off, bring this up. So because this is a technical area and I expect few of us are experts on tariffs, it's useful to look to these kinds of resources like this Congressional Research Service, congressional and presidential authority to impose import tariffs. And note that this was updated just about less than a week ago. So very current. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger for everybody. There we go. So this is a product of Congress. It's not a product of President Trump. This report examines Congress's constitutional power over import tariffs. Congress's ability to delegate some of that authority over tariffs to the president within certain limits, the scope of specific authorities Congress has delegated to the president to impose or adjust tariffs, the ways in which courts have resolved challenges to the president's use of those tariffs. The report also provides an overview of some of the legal debates surrounding recent tariff actions by the president, meaning President Trump. The Constitution grants Congress the power to regulate foreign commerce, impose tariffs, and collect revenue. As discussed in this report, Congress has long enacted laws authorizing the president to adjust tariff rates on goods in certain circumstances. Courts have generally upheld these laws against constitutional challenges, holding that they do not impermissibly delegate Congress's legislative power over tariffs to the executive branch. So these have been upheld with rare exception until suddenly we get to Trump. Now, I just want to look now at the table of contents. So these are all the statutes that this report, this 25-page report covers. Look at all these delegations. by Congress of its tariff power to the president. In fact, yeah, this looks like most of the major ones. I'll do them in sequential history. Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 201 of the Trade Act of 1974, Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974, International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. These are not new. These are well-established, long upheld by the federal courts, delegations of Congress's tariff authority to the Article 2 president. And it was all fine until that president was Trump and complaints were brought to this International Court of Trade, again, that I'd never heard of.
Thanks for watching this highlight segment of our full-length Law of Self-Defense live stream. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more expert analysis on politics, law, and how to be hard to convict. And to watch the full-length episode of this show, just click right here. Stay safe.